Shaolin, now all I touch, I am a mastery here.
Right then, James Cardus, drummer boy, welcome to the fold, mate. Yeah, we've literally been just started doing these chats and stuff like that. We've been going through with Luke and Ryan and stuff, talking about the beginnings of the band and that. But you're up now. We've got Ryan here as well. He's going to mediate. Fine, mate. He's going to mediate between us both to stop us doing unusual stuff like we normally do when we used to live together, James, if you remember. And
so he's acting as referee.
Referee, basically, yeah. Obviously, we're doing the best we can in this situation, aren't we? With recording wise and stuff like that. So, yeah, how are you doing, James? Is everything okay at your end?
It's a roller coaster, I'll have you know. Things are changing daily at our end. There's a lot of change going on in my life at the moment, which when you tie that in with this whole coronavirus situation, it just amplifies emotions by about a million. So
that corona wasn't even the half of it, was it?
No, mate, no, it wasn't. But we're all doing well. We're all happy.
Yeah.
Especially the dog.
So what happened to you just before coronavirus and stuff like that, James? What was happening in your life and stuff?
Well, things were just kicking into gear, as you know yourself. So we just come out the studio, recorded some new tracks. Happy as Larry. We had a gig to prepare to, so we just started rehearsing, getting the live sound good and proper. And then, boom, lost my job. Boom, coronavirus. Boom, no jobs on the market. Boom, you're not allowed to leave your house. Good luck.
I don't want to laugh at it, but it's like that was such a mad story that it's hard not to. But it's good. Like obviously, recently you've found a job again, so that's good.
Laugh now.
You can laugh now. I think it's starting to hear that we might be coming out of this soon as well. So I think you're doing really well, mate.
I think we might be coming out of it, but I read today that they've discovered a black hole that's quite close to Earth.
So that's next.
Mate.
So it's quite a nice little.
I don't think we've heard the last of it this year. But you're well. I'm similar to you, Ryan. Like, as bad as it sounds, we fucking love chaos. When stuff like this happens, it's kind of like, I don't know. It sounds awful, but it's amazing at the same time just to see everything happening, seeing how people react to it.
Well, yeah, there tends to be mass change and developments accelerated as a result of chaos and these type of situations. So yeah, but I agree. I don't think we've seen the last of it. The fact that they're easing restrictions, and I hope people don't have the sort of mindset that that's it, because there still isn't a vaccine for it. There's still a chance you can catch it, and there's still a chance you can die. So yeah.
So
crack
everyone's positive, but yeah, no, it's right, mate. And I've been having conversations about that myself, but we'll get through it, man. We'll get through it because that's what we do. So we'll take you back, James. It's okay, like we did with Luke and that, to the start of this. We'll get your general feelings from. Obviously, we were in Cupid together. We were living together just as that kind of all like ended and stuff like that. We never really talked about it at the time. We were very good at talking about other things, weren't we? And having fun living together for the first time, which was great. How was your head at the time and stuff like that? Because I know it upset you a lot speaking to you like in recent times and stuff. And how did you manage that time? And then obviously bring yourself into what we were doing next.
Well, back then, like I said, I couldn't grasp the concept of change ever being a positive thing. So I was very used to how things were, and things weren't amazing, as you know, but in my head they weren't bad. But it was the change that scared me more than anything. It was like, right, so I've got this thing that I've been doing for 5 years, and now nothing. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that hit me hardest. Obviously, we've moved on. Things have moved on for the better, personally. And at the time didn't really talk about it because I have this thing where I don't know how I feel properly at the time. in retrospect, I can look back and I know how I felt now. But at the time, who knows, my head's everywhere. Yeah, weird time.
Yeah,
Weird time, weren't it? Because it was like, I remember when it ended, we're all sat around and it's just like, where do we go from here? Was kind of the big question, weren't it?
it was.
Where do we go from here? And then when you can't see the clear path and you can't see the answer to that, that's where things got a bit tough.
Yeah,
but like I said, we're living together. We didn't speak about it.
No, we didn't. We
No,
didn't.
mate, we're too busy putting VR headsets on and pounding beers and having disposable barbecues to distract ourselves from the real problems in our head.
You definitely helped me a lot around that time, James, because you provided a good distraction on my part, because I think we shared a lot of the same lows in the last band. I definitely do, because we used to speak about them every now and again. But yeah, coming out of it, living with, I don't know, it must have been a lot different for Ryan and Jake and stuff like that, but it must have, we had each other to distract and stuff like that, to distract from this. We did, mate, and that was helpful. But then, so obviously then we started with the recording process where we were just going crazy, just throwing out these ideas and stuff like that. How did you find them times?
Well, then it was straight back into it, weren't it, really? It was kind of like a lull of hopelessness. And then straight back into like, actually, no, this is a good thing, isn't it? This is the right thing to be pursuing. A lot more clarity came about. And if you remember, I taught you how to read. You couldn't read before you lived with me. So we started on the simple things like the hungry caterpillar and stuff. And then a lot of your learnings and teachings that you passed on to me have helped along the way. And that's the exciting thing about this band, is it's not just, it does have the fundamentals of 5 blokes going in a room that's not very adequately decorated with shocking lighting and playing instruments too loudly to come up with songs. But there's a lot more behind it as well, which helped the process entirely. And it's the thought process and the ideology behind it all, which has helped me stick with it through, because there's been lows and highs in this band as well.
100%.
As always, but it's that extra bit that keeps you going, I think.
Yeah, man, that's definitely true.
For people who are not in a band, what's an example of a low of being in a band? What's a low point?
Well, I've got to say that we've not experienced ourselves yet the lows of being in the back of a van, maybe in a traffic jam at 5 a.m. having played a gig in Bath to perhaps 4 people, including the sound engineer. I think we're yet to experience those lows. But for us, I don't know, what lows would you say we've been through? Losing the room was a big one.
Yeah, that was a bad time. That we had
finally got our studio set up, didn't we? Nice little studio set up. Oh, by the way, lads, we're knocking down the building. You've got to find somewhere else. That was
a low, and we owed a lot of money as well. We owed a lot of money on that. That was a bad time. But I forgot about that. I just put that out again. I've not evaluated it yet, James. I'm doing what you said. But yeah, so for you, that's definitely our biggest low so far. I mean, there's been mad moments and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a bad time. But why drums, James? Why did you pick up sticks and start bashing things? I mean, I know you, so I know why.
I thought about this a lot, because I used to tell myself, so Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was pretty much my introduction to music, and it's why I like music. And then I've got my brother to thank for that, because he got me into that. I remember being almost unable to walk and speak and watching him play Tony Hawk, listening to the music on it. And he got a guitar out, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. He never learned to play. I don't think he ever learned a single chord on it. But that was like, well, what can I do? He's got a guitar. What I want something. So it was drums, and obviously you can't just get drums like that. So that idea got put to bed for a few years. But I always wanted to play drums, always obsessed with the idea of it. And then one day, my best mate at the time, I think I was about 11, him and his brother played trumpet in a local brass band. And we were speaking one day, he's like, oh, our brass band is looking for a drummer. I was like, well, fucking, that's a great opportunity, isn't it? So rocked up half an hour before the band rehearsal, and there was a guy called James as well. He gave me my first ever drum lesson, which was, I don't know, like the beat to When the Saints Go Marching In or something. Sheet music up. He didn't play drums. God bless him. Right, this is what you need to play. And it started off, it was just like, and like, that's all I played for like 6 weeks, but it was the fucking coolest feeling ever. And when I wish I had a recording of it, because it was probably the most horrific sounding room you've ever stepped in. It was a bunch of like 12-year-olds in like, it was really run down, this little room, bless them, like, because obviously I don't know how money works in little brass bands, but you take your little £3 sub for the week and you sit in this cold, wet, dirty room, as with every band, and you play this music, and it was just that for ages. And then after about 6 weeks of playing, we got onto the most advanced one in the brass band, which was, played that for about 3 months, played our first concert, and it was like the biggest rush of my life. I remember I had one drum fill to play in it, and like there was a big moment where everyone stops playing. It was did that, absolutely buzzing, and that was like, right, I need to be a drummer now for the rest of my life after that one moment.
Yeah.
So then I need to get a drum kit. So the first, I guess you could call it a drum kit I had, was a little tabletop Yamaha. It had like 5 little pads on it. Snare drum, tom, 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 tom. Floor tom, like a cymbal. Little bass drum pedal, but it was just like, I don't know, like a piano kind of sustain pedal kind of, it was shit. And I used to sit in my room and listen to, I think it was The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Because that was the beat I learned in brass band. Apart from like 10 times as fast.
Yeah.
Just to sit there and I remember hours and hours and hours until I got it. And I think that's when my mum and dad really started taking notice. They're like, you know what, he's sitting in his room for hours just smashing the fuck out of this little pad. So saved up my paper round money. Found an advert in Loot. You can remember Loot?
Mate, I do. I nearly bought a drum kit from Loot, but yeah, thank God I didn't.
Went to this church in Salford with my dad. The guy there had this drum kit, this beautiful red piece of shit, basically. But at the time, it was like the most amazing thing. And while we're there, he said, "Oh, by the way, we're also selling this drum kit for the same price. If you're interested, like you can choose which one you want." And thinking back, like this is a stupid mistake. It was like an old vintage Premier kit. I don't know what model it was, but it was old. And I remember looking at my dad and going like, why would I want to pay the same price for an old drum kit when I can have this like newer red one? So I went home with the one that was obviously worth like 50 quid when that Premier one was probably worth like 800 quid.
Yeah.
And put it in the attic. It was set up in my mum and dad's attic.
So that's where you had it set up? Because I remember you telling me that you had the window open and stuff like that, or you could hear the neighbours.
It was attic until I persuaded mum and dad to let me get one of those loft beds. So it was so I could raise my bed up, so then I could fit my drums underneath and have my drums in my bedroom.
Smart move.
Yeah, and then it was windows open, piss off the neighbours.
Yeah.
Trying to play. I think I moved on to Will Smith then. Millennium, classic, great album.
I'm starting to see these influences coming through now, James. 100%. Yeah, man, that's mega. Is there more to add there? Is there more to the story?
That was it. So it was just listening to music, listening to my favorite music, and learning how to play it and doing that. I started getting drum lessons for a few years, which really helped me. Like it helped with my confidence more than anything, because playing in your bedroom is great, but you don't ever play in front of anyone. Then you're always going to have that thing as soon as someone watches you. Like, so I remember doing my drum lessons and just feeling so uncomfortable for so long. So you have to get that out of your system. And then got to college, I met Ryan, and I started taking things a bit serious with him.
That's what he does to you, isn't it? That's what he does.
Yeah.
Isn't it,
So
Ryan?
we started a ska band.
Is that when I met you? Did I meet you when you were in that band?
I think you met
Yeah.
at my birthday. You met at my birthday party once.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember. Wow, he's taller than me, but he's
Almost 10 years ago. I think it was 10 years ago now.
I think
Yeah,
it might have
man.
been my 18th birthday.
It was.
Yeah, my 18th birthday.
Man, that's crazy. But yeah, so
And
James,
I thought
Sorry.
you were so cool because you were in a band that you played at Moho, and you'd played at fucking like all these bars in Manchester that I'd heard of, but I was too young to go to. And that was the pinnacle of making it for me. If I was ever in a band that could play Academy 3, for example, that was it. Because I used to go watch my favourite bands there. I used to go watch Indie Layer, Hellish the Heroes, all those kind of people. And then to hear bands like you played, it was like, oh my God, if I ever got to do that, that's it. That's the bucket list.
I remember your attitude being like that around that time, mate. So again, I've lived with you now, mate, and I know I've seen you try to control your limbs, and it's a pleasure to watch. It really is, but you can't go 5 minutes without knocking something off somewhere, can you, or smashing something?
No, that's
So you, because like, according to our producer and stuff like that, you're one of the best drummers he's ever recorded and stuff like that, mate. So how do you go from college band level to then such a standard? Is that just practice, or what was that? Or do you even know? You're very modest, so just be.
no, just a note on my clumsiness. I do have this theory that when you're as lanky as me, your brain thinks that your nerve endings are a bit shorter than your fingers. So I reckon in my head, my nerve endings are like not even like 0.1 of a millimeter shorter. So my brain thinks that my arms are just slightly short. So when I go to pick something up, I fucking just knock it over. When I'm running under something, I'll hit my head like all the time. Yeah, I'm very clumsy.
What was the last thing you broke?
A Pyrex glass jug, you know, the little 500 milliliters.
When was
Last
this?
week I ordered. It's been a while since I broke something.
What's the most
Last
expensive?
week.
What's the most expensive thing you've broken?
Oh man. Obviously phones. I've not broken a phone for a while though. I don't know. You know me. Every single thing I own is a little bit broken and needs to be used in just a specific way that I know. So if anyone comes to use any of my stuff, they're always like, what the fuck, how do you use this? But I've got my specific ways of using them and I know. But yeah, everything I own is a little bit broken.
You got alarms on your keys still, James, as well. So you can find
No,
your
I
keys.
fucking lost them.
Man,
Don't know where it is. Yeah. I've not
It's
lost my keys
mega.
in ages too.
It's great to watch, mate. It's really entertaining. I had a really good couple of years there. Getting to watch that every day. But yeah. So
In terms of what Matt said about me as a drummer, I'm assuming
man.
that he's only recorded 2 bands then, hasn't he?
us in this one and us in the previous one.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's very complimentary of you, mate. You know he is, and it's just you. I've known you for a while now, and you've always been shit hot. So there must have been a jump there. But like playing in the previous band, we more told you what to do, didn't we? Rather than kind of let you be yourself in a way. We kind of had a vision and idea of how we wanted it to be, and it was kind of like, can we have the drums more like this?
Well, it's just it was a weird one, wasn't it? And I think that's part of the sound we kind of had was
Definitely.
I grew up listening to new metal and pop punk and a little bit of hip hop, but mainly that was it. And some metal bands like Iron Maiden and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember how it happened. It's just Ryan got me into this band, and I'm in a room, and all these guys are stood around in paisley shirts. Sid, the mod, that's the nickname you've got because you're a mod.
That's my Netflix name.
Telling me to play a bit more like Ringo Starr or try and make it sound 60s. And I'm like, man, the 60s. In my head, that was like so far away. That's like fucking granddad music. What do you mean play like I'm in the 60s? So I had to go and start listening to stuff that I'd never listened to, which was a great journey, an amazing journey. Like to go from listening to just like pop punk and all that kind of stuff. I did listen to a lot of varied stuff, but never anything old as such. And then was the journey of discovering the Beatles, which a lot of people I imagine would be so jealous about. Like I got to discover the Beatles for the first time at the age of 18 and listen to all their records for the first time at the age of 18, which I'm sure a lot of people are jealous of that. And then other American bands like the Band and dog.
Bella.
Side bands like
Team mascot. Bella.
Come here. Damn it. Yeah, the Americana stuff like the Band, Eagles, Pompeii. Well, the Eagles are kind of, I grew up with them because my dad was always a fan. Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, and rock music were just always playing in our house.
The Eagles are now two out of the past two now getting a mention, aren't they? Denny was the same with Eagles, but I didn't discover Eagles till later. But
Eagles are more popular than you'd believe because aren't they like the Great Hits by the Eagles, like the best-selling album of all time?
Yeah, I suppose, mate. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Makes a good Christmas present for dads.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was a great thing to go through. Like, but then I had this weird style of someone trying to emulate style drumming that's popular in the 60s and 70s, who's just used to hitting drums really hard and really fast. And then that was kind of my kind of weird spunky style that I got.
Yeah, because it was your biggest like kind of few influences drumming wise.
At the time, it was Travis Barker. It was like my go-to, and there's always been Benny Greb. Has been a favorite of mine. Stanton Moore, but my favorite drummers were always like not people I listened to.
Okay.
They're just drummers I respect and stuff. And then I couldn't even tell you half the names of the drummers of bands I listened to the most.
You just like the style. You just hear it, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
What was your interpretation of when we were pushing you down that route? What was like the definition of? I suppose it's really stupid to say it, isn't it? Really, like a '60s style, or like what was the thing that you kind of identified the most?
For me, it's the song "Is It Tomorrow Never Knows" by the Beatles.
It's the beat. That is the beat.
That drum sound and that beat was what I had in my head.
Well, I think that you just hit on an interesting point there. It's not necessarily where you play it; it's the sound of the kits as well. Back then, you know, they don't not like the kits that we have now, or the recording techniques as well. So I think that has a massive thing to do with it. You know, it's really strange. Like today, you listen to a drum kit, it's really well recorded. You know, it's completely different approach.
No, yeah, you're barely listening to a drum kit, I have to say, a lot of the time.
Yeah, there is that as well.
You're listening to like an emulation of a drum kit, even if it's a real drum kit that's been used, recorded, you're kind of listening to an emulation of that as its final product.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like when you say, "Oh, play like," you know, make it sound like '60s," it's like, all right, well, go and get me a drum kit from the '60s then.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest part, to be honest with you.
Was there anything musically that was unique to that sort of era that you thought that is different now for drummers?
I don't. Well, we've kind of had a kind of. Well, I say this, I sound old. We've not had a resurgence of it. We did like 5 years ago. 10 years ago, like bands like probably even longer ago, like the Coral and stuff like that. Who's the drummers and the kind of drums when you go to these little indie gigs that were popping up all the time, you were starting to see all these old 60s kits crop back up, and everyone's using them again now. What was the question?
I was just asking, like, from a musical perspective rather than the sound, like what was kind of unique to that sort of style of playing. One of my things probably would be there seemed to be a lot more space with the drums. Like they were more, I'm not going to say more musical because that would discredit what people are doing now, but you know, he touched on it with like the choral. It was more for the song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. 100%.
Especially like a lot of the Motown stuff as well. You know, there wasn't a lot of drums in some things, and it would build, and drums would come in and create a certain texture. Like, yeah, I suppose that's what I would probably say on the matter.
I agree,
Yeah,
man.
no,
I
you
agree.
smashed it. Yeah, absolutely right there.
So, James, obviously, kind of we wanted that. There's a you got me into Kendrick Lamar. You played me Kendrick Lamar, and that kind of changed my life. Like you did, like you taught me to read. You played me Kendrick Lamar.
Wait
So,
till I show you maths. Wait till I show you
100%.
maths, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that after this lockdown. 100%.
And cooking.
And cooking. I've just made a meal that James taught me tonight. I'm on that. But anyway, so I learned a lot from you, mate, which is nice. But yeah, so kind of when we went into this, we kind of we were getting into these hip hop sounds and stuff like that, and we were influenced by a lot of like Kendrick, Kanye, 21 Pilots and stuff like that. All the old Dr. Dre stuff and all that kind of thing. Beastie Boys again. And we were like, to you, it was kind of like, because I felt responsible in a way for kind of just try to tell you how to drum for so long. When it came into this band, in my head, it was just kind of like, I want to let James just go for it this time. I wanted him to kind of lead the sound in a way. I don't know if you had the same impression, Ryan, or the same feelings around that. But like because you've become such a tight rhythm section in the previous band, I wanted to exploit that even more and just kind of push that out and just give because it was all that freedom stuff that we were doing. The ideas were free and stuff like that. Did you feel that as you started, and is that kind of, are you enjoying it, being allowed to kind of just explore your kind of avenues and stuff like that? Or?
No, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
awful.
good. That's good because
No.
I hope you do.
No, absolutely. Like you can totally tell now that my new metal and my pop punk past is allowed to shine, which isn't a bad thing. I know people for that style of music, and that's what I've always enjoyed playing. Pure energy. So it's like I get to incorporate that into just more interesting ideas, more sampled sounds, electric sounds, different. Like when we were recording our last set of tunes, just having a whole kind of electric kit to play with a few acoustic elements thrown in, a completely hybrid setup. That's completely changed the game for me. It's like a fusion of all the styles I like, and you don't often get the opportunity to play like that in a band, do you? Like
Not at all.
if you're playing music in a band a lot of time, especially if you're stepping in as a session person, it's a genre of music, and you're expected to play as if like someone else from that genre of music. Whereas with us, it's kind of like we didn't have a genre, we didn't have a sound, we didn't have any of that when we started. It was just an exploration of what everyone sounded like coming together.
Yeah, man, it's that kind of, and like bringing up Matt Terry again, our producer. I know I keep saying Matt without mentioning that, but he kind of encourages you to be as experimental as possible and to be as free as possible at the same time as well, don't he? I know you're always quite happy in the studio when it comes to doing your drum set, and you always get through it really quick and stuff like that. Like it's easy to you.
Yeah, a big part of it's like a big concern of ours, but also one of my favorite elements is, personally, for my parts in particular, I enjoy going into the studio with a bit of freedom around our ideas. If I've got parts completely nailed before we go in, I struggle to get that out of my head. So if we start exploring other ideas while we're recording, I always loop back to that part I've already got. Whereas I like being able to go into the studio kind of knowing the songs, knowing the feel of the songs. But if it comes down to it and I'm sat behind a kit, I want to be able to kind of go, I want to try this now, or let's do this, and get parts out that way. And yeah, like you said, Matt definitely encourages that kind of element of myself in the studio, which is great because it's supposed to be enjoyable and fun, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Getting the job done, but not tying yourself down.
Yeah, 100%. So bringing Ryan in here as well. Because obviously you've played together. You played together in covers bands all the time. You played together since I've known you both, really. I think. I know, Ryan, you were in a different band at the time, but I think you knew James at that time, didn't you? So, and I presume you were doing some mad stuff together like you always are. How do you feel you've developed as a kind of a pair? Like,
That's a complete part of when I was telling you about learning to drum that I completely dismissed, which is absolutely ridiculous. So the cover stuff, the playing 100 gigs a year, 200 gigs a year, just playing other people's songs, and in particular the Irish stuff that Ryan and his family got me into playing. Yeah, I suppose that's that's had such an influence on my style of drumming. There's nothing like drumming along to traditional Irish tunes because it makes no sense. The phrasing is so ridiculous.
is that right, Ryan?
You'll have like
So yeah,
you'll have like mate, you have like songs and like just the phrasing's weird where like say you'd have a verse usually that's say 16 bars long. You'll have a verse that's 17 bars long. And then the chorus will be like, instead of 8, it'll be like 10 bars. And like, there'll be a weird like 2-bar lead up into the chorus that happens just once. So it's just absolute insanity. And that definitely taught me to keep myself on my toes while we're playing. I think between me and Ryan playing those songs, we now have the ability to look at each other and completely know what he's going to do. Like, because you just have to be so on your toes playing it. Like, I know what he's going to play on bass before he's played it just by looking at him.
There's definitely a telepathy there, 100%. You see that when you're just jamming, and in them gigs, and it's and when you're in the studio, I don't know, you're not recording together at the same time, but there's just something. There's like is it a synergy? Is that the word to use? There's something there between you both. I don't know, it's because you're good mates and that, and you're both really weird. But it's like there's something just amazing when you two play together. Something feels right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It does. It is weird, and we have grown together as well. I think that's the main thing, is that we both started bands quite early, and we were playing, I think 16, 17, 18. So we've been playing for over 10 years together, but we've developed as musicians as well, and wrote music together as well from a bass and drums perspective. We've both been through the same experiences. So it is kind of like we've had the same education. Yeah, there is something special there. And you do miss it as well. I occasionally play with different drummers. James plays with different bass players as well. And you do kind of miss it a bit. It's not the same. You don't feel the same. It's just really strange. Something we kind of don't really talk about or even just acknowledge. But yeah, it's just there. And it's one of those things, you miss it, but you don't realise it when it's there.
Like putting on another pair of pants and looking at your trusty old pair of black skinny jeans that you know is perfect and fits you. When you try the other pants on, you just don't quite feel comfortable. And it might look okay to other people. The pants might suit you and fit you, but to you, it's just not right, is it?
It's not at all. I suppose a good question to ask you as well is, I feel like towards the end of the previous band that we were in together, we were writing more rhythmic music and more drums and bass led music. That was a conscious decision as well, to try and create some form of energy. It just seemed like, to get a reaction from people, especially from a live set, it was driven from the bass and drums. I think towards the end of that, I started writing bass lines that would kind of lend itself to drums. And I think that then sort of triggered the start of this band. It was like, right, okay, this needs to be completely drums and bass led.
I remember you saying that at the time.
I remember getting a demo that you'd done, and it's not like it sounded like me playing drums, but it sounded like something that I would play. Like you'd come up with some drum part, or like put a drum sound on that already sounded like me, as if that's what your brain came up with when it was trying to come up with drums. Yeah,
it was a strange one, because you are our strength, I think, in terms of from a musical point of view. And yeah, it just felt like live we were lacking that energy that other bands had. And when you sat back and looked at it, it was because it was driven by bass and drums. And again, like, it was a decision that with this sort of music, it has to be led like that. And then lo and behold, on a lot of other artists started producing that sort of music. I think the earliest thing I remember of that time was probably Royal Blood, which was just bass and drums.
Mm.
You're
it's
right,
like,
mate.
right,
You're
okay,
right.
cool. They've literally nailed that sort of thing. And then, which you referenced again, said like 21 Pilots. Are they bass and drums?
Yeah, it's kind of. They're
Right.
like they play a lot of
Live,
stuff
that's
on
what they do
tracks,
live.
don't they? Like, yeah.
There's a bit of a theme there, isn't there? Maybe you should set up a band, James.
I thought you were
Well, that's
you
the
were
thing.
singing now, right?
Another band I was obsessed with growing up, thanks to my brother, was Decibel 1979, which was literally just bass and drums. You
You
listen
just
to
went,
it, and
sorry,
it was
James, you
like
just
a
went there,
very,
mate.
very early version of Royal Blood.
Who was that, James? Sorry, you just
I
went.
was just saying, thanks guys, thanks for the chat. And I'll see you next week. Death from Above 1979,
Yeah.
bass and drums. Mate, even one of my all-time favorite bands, Band Called Five. Granted, there's a piano, but bass and drums in it. It's the bass and drums that leads it, and the piano tinkers around on top. And I guess fucking hell,
Figures
can't
of
get
magic.
away from it. And oh yeah, this is like therapy, man.
It is like therapy. I think that's exactly what Denny was saying after it and stuff. These are really, really, really good. It's really nice to. I thought you two were going to finally say that you love each other then for the first time ever, because you just you're like. So as me and Denny argue on this side, we got you two arguing. It's good though, man. It's good. The conflict it's good. It keeps us energy. Like energy has been a bit of a key word that keeps flowing out through these chats, and I think that's kind of where we're at as a band now. We want to bring a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, because we've never really done that, and this is kind of like a nice new thing to us. But James, that was for me, mate. That was absolutely brilliant. What would just before we go, what's going forward? I suppose what ambitions do you have for the band and stuff, and where do you see us maybe in a couple of years time, or?
Just before we do that, so when I was watching Luke's video back, he was mentioning a few artists and you're popping up pictures and stuff. So I like Ben 45, Elbow, Set Your Girls, Blink 182, Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, David Bowie, name some others. Should we keep naming them, Ryan? Do you want to throw a few in there?
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. I'll be an Edit King by the end of this video, man.
Where do I see us going? I see us going in the right direction. I don't know. It's still such early days for me. I feel like we've established ourselves and who we are and what we sound like and stuff. But we've released 3 songs and we played 2 gigs, and I'm just so excited to get the show on the road and get ourselves out there and let people see us at gigs. Like people, because we've got so many songs recorded that we sat on that I'm so proud of. I can listen to, having listened to them for like 50, 60 times and still be like, yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, man.
So I guess that's where I see us going is letting the people see it and letting the people feel what we mean as well. The whole ideology behind it, the message we've got to pass on, I think is such an important part of it. And I think as people are generally becoming a lot more aware of themselves and how they feel, and not the spirituality of it all, but just there's a lot more to life if you can just sit and listen to what your brain's saying.
Yeah, man.
Pay attention to what other people's brains are saying as well. Fucking realize what's actually important in life. Yeah,
self-awareness there, James. But
awareness of self and others.
Yeah, well, there's the title. There's the title of this one. This YouTube video sorted straight away. He's frozen now, well, which is great.
I've got music to thank for that myself. I got music to thank. Like when I was in college, I listened to bands like, it sounds corny as hell, but listening to bands like Seagull Roast and Explosions in the Sky. And all these, like,
stop mentioning bands.
Big epic instrumental music scapes that I didn't realize at the time, but that was my meditation. I used to go home, lie in my bed, listen to this music, and just
man,
that was it. And it was
100%.
And I think I've always kind of been self-aware for quite a while now, and it's good to be in a band trying to spread that message at a time where it's most important.
Other than music, are there any other exogenous factors that have contributed to your self-awareness?
I don't know what that word means. You know I don't know what it means. And you said that on purpose.
James, you
What
taught me
does
how to
that
read,
mean?
mate. You taught me how to read.
I know. Wait till I teach you how to write as well. Maths and his writing.
Right, man, that's great, mate. Really, really good introduction for you there, man. Have you enjoyed that?
I really enjoyed it, yeah. My dog enjoyed it too.
Bella, team mascot. Ryan, have you got anything you want?
We need to show her, really, don't we?
Yeah, get
Hey.
Bella on.
Get Bella out for the lads.
Hey, hello,
Hi,
Bella.
Bella.
Hello.
Get that on the preview.
That's it. Man, that's amazing. Ryan, you got anything else to add there, mate?
It just started getting interesting then with the dog. Probably the only thing I can ask for more of, really, is the dog.
More dog. But yeah, I'm happy, man. I thought that was great, James, and we'll do this again shortly.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, James.
No worries. Thank you for having me, boys.
Any closing statement? Any top tips for anybody?
Okay, this is something that I genuinely said today, and I meant this. It seems like every day I learn more. Yeah, every day I know less. And that could be your closing statement.
Man, you're just throwing them out. You're throwing them out. You give me loads to work with. I'm gonna go. Literally, that's gonna keep me up tonight. That one, James. It is. But no, honestly, thanks very much, mate. And like I said on the last video, I'm gonna get very good at this. Subscribe to our channel if you like these videos. Like and comment, because literally it really, really helps us out. And I just hopefully there'll be a few more coming up and stuff like that, and we'll be out this lockdown soon. We'll be able to cuddle each other.
0161 BL9.
Nice.
Peace out.
Right, see you later.
Adios. And if anyone's got any complaints, you can send them my way.